Alright, hello. My name is Carl DeMayo, and the topic I will be talking about is the history of the Cold War and the influential effect of the Red Scare on the United States. The three main points I will elaborate on are the influences of Harry S. Truman, the golden age of nuclear warfare, and the theories of political differences. I believe that these three concepts have affected various elements of the Crucible, such as the interaction between characters and the overall tone and setting of the play. So, first, I'll be talking about one of the standing presidents in America during the timeline of the Cold War, Harry S. Truman, who served office during 1945 to 1953. During Truman's administration, he helped restore post war Europe by enacting the Truman Doctrine to provide aid to Greece and Turkey to protect them from communist aggression, and the Marshall Plan, which was the United States giving billions of dollars to help accelerate economic recovery in European nations. And his decision accounted for the use of the atomic bomb on the Japanese population, which sparked further curiosity for the Soviet Union during the time, thus initiating the start of the nuclear arms race and its anxiety it carried on the population. Yet, this resulted in the most extraordinary political settlements of the past century. Truman issued Executive Order 9835, which was a loyalty order that mandated for all federal employees be analyzed to determine whether they were sufficiently loyal to the government. This activity startled the citizens of America, as personal liberty and freedom of political organization were the foundations of the country. Relating back to the Crucible, we are able to see this during the witch trials. Truman's loyalty order was to further get rid of the influence of communism in America. Similarly, the court in the Crucible intends to get rid of difference, the witches and the effect they put on the population. Yet, the court, especially Judge Danforth, failed to see the corruption in the afflicted girl's statements. Judge Danforth chose to ignore Reverend Hale's pleas and his loyalty to the court through his revelation, which led to the downfall of the community of Salem and its members. The second topic I will elaborate on is the golden age of nuclear warfare. The principle that went along with this particular arms race was the effect of nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence is the credible threat of retaliation to forestall an enemy attack. Both the United States and the Soviet Union employed this tactic by stockpiling nuclear arms. The intention was that if the attacking country were to launch nuclear bombs, the defending country will also deploy their own arsenal of nuclear weaponry, leading towards the concept of MAD, short form for mutually assured destruction. Instead of one side winning in the traditional battle, through nuclear warfare, both countries will lose due to the overwhelming destructive power of the atom bomb. To tie this in with the Crucible, the same concept of deterrence can be applied. Those who cannot convict others for witchcraft under certain circumstances. In this case, two characters in the play, John Proctor and Abigail Williams. John Proctor was not able to convict Abigail of trying to murder his wife, Elizabeth, as he will become convicted of adultery if Abigail were to inform the court. With this information, Abigail can stop Proctor from accusing her of lying to the court. Meanwhile, Proctor also has the information from Reverend Paris, where he only saw dancing in the woods, and Abigail admitting to these false acts when they were alone. Proctor has the opportunity to stop Abigail's wrath and the afflicted girls, yet both are in trouble regardless if they tell the truth. Proctor was able to inform the court of the adultery he committed, yet his wife, Elizabeth Proctor, told him otherwise, as she faintly said, "No, sir," dismissing the charge of lechery as Proctor informed the court beforehand that in her life, sir, she never lied. With these examples, deterrence has played a role in affecting the way these two characters interact with each other and with other characters in the play. Last, the theories of political differences between the United States and the Soviet Union represent a certain aspect in the Crucible. The philosopher behind communism was Karl Marx. His communism theory represented a new world where all people would be equal and taken care of by a benevolent state. Oppressed workers and peasants would live better than ever. Yet in reality, communism led to an elite class that ruled over the people. Freedoms were crushed, corruption was common, and living standards lagged behind those in the West. Heightened concerns occurred in 1949 when the Soviet Union successfully tested an A-bomb, as well as communist forces taking control of China. Then, in the following year, from 1950 to 1953, America engaged in the Korean War to fight communist forces. With these advances of communism throughout the world, American citizens were convinced that there was a real danger of the Reds taking over their own country, causing the element of hysteria to be created by the perceived threat of communism in America. To relate back to the Crucible, the community also has a hard time to handle the threat of difference. America was struggling with the differences between their ideology of democracy versus the East's ideology of communism. In the Crucible, the community battles against the threat of the witches, starting with the tuba and her Caribbean chanting and dancing, causing a misinterpretation that Reverend Paris witnessed, and leading towards the wrath of the afflicted girls condemning others through the falsified spectral evidence. To conclude my presentation, the following 3 points, the effects of President Harry S. Truman during his service in office, the golden age of nuclear warfare, and the arms race it spurred between the two superpower countries of the world, and last, the differences between democracy and communism that brought conflict onto the world. With these 3 concepts, the interaction between characters such as John Proctor and Abigail Williams, and the overall tone and setting of the play are related to the Cold War and the ideas behind this world event. Thank you for listening, and these are my sources.